They don't make them like they used to. Well, they might not make them, but that doesn't mean I can't. Should we build a brand new ZX Spectrum 48K rubber key from all new parts in 2023? So much clickbait. It's time to build a brand new ZX Spectrum from all new parts. I need it to go inside this delicious smoked translucent case I bought some time ago. This will be the second of probably 4 Sinclair computers up for auction to raise money for the befriending scheme. The auction will be on the 16th of September 2023 for all you time travellers. I'll be doing a 12-hour charity live stream on the day, joined by some very special guests from the world of vintage and retro computers and video games. More info on all of that at the end of this video. The board I'll be using for this build was sent to me by Devzine. He also sent me something else which I'll go into in a bit. But this rather fetching purple motherboard is an Issue 6A ZX Spectrum. Devzine re-engineers these vintage motherboards for fun. Right now he's working on an Atari 130XE. Imagine being that clever. I happen to know that this is a high quality gold plated board, and if you're interested in purchasing one of these, I know that Devzine has them available on his Tindy store. Links are in the description. The 6A is the last of the 48K revisions before Sinclair moved off to the 128K toast rack. You can usually find Issue 6As inside Spectrum Plus cases. I recently refurbished one and there should be a video popping up in the corner of your screen. The biggest difference between the Issue 6A and the earlier 4, 3, 2 and 1 revisions is the ZX8401 custom chip, which replaced the 674 series logic found on those earlier boards. Whilst the 74 logic chips are still available new off the shelf, mostly, the ZX8401 or its variant the PCF1306P have sadly not been manufactured for decades, which means I have to replace that chip with something else. Something quite cool, I hope. But you'll have to wait till later in the video, as first I have to build the rest of this board. And that should be fun. Right, let's not mess around. I've got... hang on, let's mess around a little bit. I have sorted many components. I looked at the schematic and started noting down every single resistor and capacitor on the schematic, one at a time, making a spreadsheet showing which values go where. And then there was one capacitor that was an odd value. I think it was a 25 picofarad, and you can't buy them in ceramic disc or even axial or radial or whatever. So I asked Devzine what he'd done, because he designed this board, or he re-engineered this board, and he's built this and got it working. And he replied to me and said, "Oh, you don't need that one," because when this came out, there was another ULA that was developed that was not being made by Ferranti. Saga, I think, was not the OAP magazine. So there was going to be a second ULA available for Sinclair to pop into these, but that never happened. Well, it happened. I think there's one survived. So it was a thing, but it just never went into production. So they have provision on here to fix some problems with that ULA. He sent me the service manual for the Spectrum, and there's some lovely notes in there, including all of the capacitors and resistors listed exactly how I'd spent an hour doing them myself, with all of the ones marked that don't need to be installed. So I have got all of the resistors. I've got almost all the capacitors. Some of them are on order and should be here shortly, so I'm just going to get on with fitting the resistors. So I've already put one in. It was just to test the fit, because I wanted to make sure that the slightly larger resistors I have in one of my kits would fit nicely on the board, and they do. I think it's probably going to be tight to fit this size resistor all the way down there, so we're going to have to see what happens there. But I've got a big box of parts here, and I've got a list. Here's my resistor list, and here's my capacitor list. But if you buy one of these from the Tindy store, there's a link on there that takes you to a spreadsheet with all of the parts, you know, the bill of materials. Quick note from the future here. I didn't realise at the time that Devzine had created this GitHub page for the Issue 6A board. It contains lots of information that would have been very useful to me
while I was making this. And the best thing in here is, well, there's a lot of stuff. I'll put a link to this in the description, but the best thing in here is this interactive bill of materials. If you click on this, you can just highlight over here on the left whatever you want. So if I want to highlight all of these capacitors, 1K capacitors, it shows you over on the right all of the locations. I really would have liked this. What a fantastic thing. Well done, DevZine. You are just one of the most amazing people on the internet. It's just a beautiful thing. I wish everybody did these.
So we're going to start, obviously, with the resistors. And we're going to start with the 470 ohm resistors, of which there are 20. And now I'm hoping I've got 20, because I'm not sure. Right, so I found the 470 ohm resistors sitting in my box, and I'm going to say there are 20. There's probably 50. So we've got R1 to R8, and they are R1 to R8 up there. Is it going to work with these ones? Yes. Beautiful. Right, so let's get the size. Oop, I folded it over. The holes are quite tight. Oh, the holes are really tight. That's perfect. Excellent. Right, so I'm going to put this in the vise, and I'm going to bend all of those and solder them in place. Right, so I've done all of the 470 ohm resistors on the list here, and after a few false starts, I had the iron set to 340, I think, degrees C, and it wasn't flowing through the joint quite as well. This is quite a heavy board, a lot more metal in these pads than I'm used to in a Spectrum, and I can show you this. So I have to hold the heat on the pad for a little bit longer after the solder has flowed, and then it's ready for it will flow through the joint. The other thing is that these holes are quite tight. These resistors, the legs just fit through these holes. I'll show you on this one. They only just fit through. There's no wiggle room there, which means that the solder doesn't go through the joint quite so freely. If I heat it for long enough, it does wick up through the hole, and you get a much nicer. So these ones here are not that nice. They're a bit scabby. I'm going to have to reflow those with a bit of flux, but these ones are really nice. So there's a couple that it still hasn't come through, but that's all right. Well, I'll get the hang of it. Right, so what I'm going to do, I've done the 470 ohm resistors. I've scratched that one. I'll move on to the 8K2s now. But I'm not going to show everything. I'm not going to do lots of fancy montaging in this one. I'm actually under a little bit of time pressure at the moment with getting this done. I know the auction date, it seems like a long way away on the 16th. It's right today, it's the 8th. It's 10 past midnight, so it's just turned the 8th of August. So I've got, 5 weeks or so, but I have to get it done a little bit earlier than that to actually set the auctions up. So I've got at least 1 week before the auctions finish to finish these. So I need to get these done, and I've got a lot to do. I've got this to build, I've got the ZX Max to build, I've got the original Spectrum to refurbish and fix up and make sure it works, everything. Get them all boxed up, get all their peripherals done and sorted, and people are sending me stuff that needs to go in these. I've got to get the flight case foam inserts all sorted out as well. And Mike DX off of Twitter is sorting out some vinyls for the flight cases as well. Chris, who volunteers at the cave, has kindly donated a third case, flight case. So we've got 3 Spectrums, the Mectrum, this new build, and the ZX Max will all be going in flight cases, all beautifully presented in flight cases, themed flight cases. So it's quite exciting, but yeah, I haven't got time to film and edit 45-minute, plus videos for the next 4 weeks. So I'm gonna build this. I'm gonna put all the resistors in. If there's anything interesting, I'll come back and but I'll probably take some pictures along the way so that we at least got a record of what's happening. But yeah, it'll be fun for me. Bye. This is as far as I've got. Right, so I've got this list here, and I've done the 470, the 1K, the 10K, that 180, 220K, and I've done the 2K2s and the 1K8s. I've still got all these other ones left to go. But what I was doing, I was actually just going through and picking out these metal film resistors, because these are all 1/4 watt size, and just starting with those. I've still got 3 left here. I've still got the 390, the 15 ohm, and the 3K, but there's not very many of each one of those. Some of those 3K, where's the 3K? Yeah, the 3K is not even on this list. 390, got one of those to put in, and what's the other one? The 15 ohm. That I got those out mistakenly. I actually need 1 watt for that. I put all these ones in, and the next ones I tried to do with the 8K2s, which were R9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 and 16 down here, and ran into a problem. The only 8K2 resistors, 8200 ohm resistors that I've got are these half watt ones, and they're too big. I thought they might just squeeze on there, but when they're all stacked like this, it just doesn't look right. They do fit, kind of, but can you imagine what one of those is going to look like if I pull one out and I put one over here in this position, in between 2 metal film 1/4 watts? It does fit, but it doesn't look very nice. So what I've done is I've stopped, and I've ordered all of the resistors that I'm missing. They should be here in a day or 2. I'm getting somewhere. Yeah, there's a few 22 nanofarad caps missing. The 180 picofarad is on its way, and I found all the rest in my stash. And on the caps note, I've used radial rather than axial. I do have 2 axial caps here, a couple of 150 picofarad caps, but they're so much more expensive. And it's kind of appropriate. If you look at an issue 2 board, they're all axial caps. So all of these ones along here, they're actually glass encapsulated axial caps. But then you look at some of these ones over here, the greenish ones, they're all axial, which would be nice. But if you look at an issue 4S board, they're all radial. And I don't like this look, but it is what it is. I've had to fit them with these widespread legs, and the 4S has alternative positions. So it could have the axial caps, or it could have these radials. But these don't have the alternative positions. So I couldn't. I don't know how much. I'd imagine that would be quite a lot of work to incorporate that into the build for DevZine. But maybe something for another revision. Just give you some work. It's all right. So that's the caps done. Just apart from the few that I'm waiting for, the resistors are all done apart from the 8K2s. I found all of the others in my stash, so all of the resistors are done. Got a couple of carbon film ones in there. There's one there and one over there. They don't look too out of place. I would have liked to have stuck with metal film, but again, it is what it is. So I'm just waiting for those 8K2s. They should be here tomorrow. And next up I've got
The diodes.
So I need 2 BA157s.
I've got so many of these.
I bulk bought a load of these. I didn't realise how many I bought. 1N4148, so I need 11 of those. And
Some Xena
diodes, I need 1 of those. But yep, you'll see this in a split second with some diodes in.
Right, this is as far as I've got so far.
All of the capacitors are done.
According to this list. A couple of odd ones in the 22
nanofarad
positions that I would have preferred to have kept them matching, but all of the diodes are done.
I had a few problems with these BA157s
over here in D15 and D17, in that the holes weren't big enough, so I had to drill those out, but they're in.
All of the resistors
Except for the 8K2s are done. I still haven't got those.
The eBay seller is taking his time sending them to me on the slowest possible parcel delivery, but everything else is
complete. I don't know what this R90, which is down here,
has got a strike through on it, so is that needed or not? I need to investigate that, so I'll make a note of that. But as I've gone,
I've marked off everything with a yellow Sharpie, just to make sure that I don't miss anything.
The next thing that I'm going to do is start putting in all of the other little bits and pieces. So I might do
the capacitors next. I've still got to do link wires,
and I have to
put in the coil. I've put the Traco in,
the voltage regulator,
and I need to put sockets in, crystals, 2 crystals, and
I need to put.
I need to look up whether I've got 74LS04.
I forgot that I
needed an extra thing. I've got some plans for the ZX8401, but everything else, all the other chips I have in stock. Lower RAM board and upper RAM board from Neil.
The transistors.
That's what we need to do next. Well, I should do that because
it's not guaranteed I've got all. Could be some more CPC orders. So anyway, when you come back, there will be some more bits in this. Well, that's quite a build. I've never done one of those before, and at the same time I had to do one of these because I ran out of parts on this build. I was missing a few resistors, so I thought I would get on with this one, and this was quite a fun build. But that's now stopped because I can't program this for some reason, so I'm trying to sort that out with Julian, and I'll come back to that one once I have something to come back to. But now I'm back to this one. I was missing some 8K2 resistors. They're all in now, and I think I'm ready to put all the chips in. I still have to do some links. These are for Texas Instrument and Oki upper RAM, and it doesn't matter because the upper RAM I'll be using will be one of these boards, which go in here. That doesn't need a jumper setting. I think it will either set one or the other, so I'll just need to work out which of those needs to be set. There's some jumpers down here, some link wires down here for in and out. I don't even know what those ones are. And then of course there's the ROM one as well. For the ROM I'll be using this Petroleum switchable ROM, which has got diagnostics and the normal proper 48K ROM on there. That's going to be quite handy. I hope I don't need to use the diagnostics. Again, I think I just need to select one of the ROM types down here, and then that will just work. So I better go and look those up before I start filling this up with chips. This was sent to me by Charlie from Lost Retro Tapes. Very kindly donated a VLA 82 for the ULA. Yeah, I've got all the chips ready to go. I've already populated the LM1889N and the lower RAM board, and I think I might try turning it on. See what goes bang. Okay, I plugged it in and switched it on, and I forgot to press record, and it beeped, which means it's working, but there was no picture. So it kind of means it's not working.
But then I looked at the RF modulator that I've put on here, or the replacement for the modulator I put on here, and I realised I hadn't connected it. So I've added a couple of wires,
and that's all I've done.
Before I did that, I completed the links. I've made it so it's Oki memory, and the low half of the Oki memory. This is to do with the upper memory.
Chips would be either broken in the top half or broken in the top half on the bottom half. So they needed a way of selecting which half of the of those memory chips would be used. And so it doesn't really matter which one I select, but I have to select one of them. I also selected
the NEC type ROM. Again, doesn't matter because I'm using a modern replacement. That can be switched to either. You can use EPROMs directly in here, but you have to do some more jiggery pokery around here with a diode and other selections.
There's guides to that on Retrolium if you ever need to put an EPROM in a ZX Spectrum.
These wire links in here where it says R and C, and it says in on that side and out on that side.
I have no idea what they do. I assume it's because the original issue 6A had a different manufacturer making, or they were going to make, ULAs for the ZX Spectrum, Saga, and it didn't come off, but the board was designed so that it could accommodate either an original Ferranti ULA or the new Saga ULA. I think that
these are to do with that. They go between the ZX8401 and this 74LS04. Well, that sits in between the ULA and that logic chip.
So I'm not sure exactly why, but I just found an image online of how these were set as standard and followed that. So that's
just the top two on the outside and the bottom one across. That's kind of difficult to see on some of the images, and it's probably even difficult to see on this one as well. But that's how I
wired that in, and it seems to have fired up. But do we get a picture
like that?
Please work. There's a weird hissing noise. I don't know if that's the diagnostics. I've just never heard it before, but yeah, we've got an image and the diagnostics are running. That's because
I've got the ROM on here selected to the B selection, and that's
a diagnostic ROM. Yeah, it looks like it's working. I'll just let it run through all the tests to make sure. I mean, the chances of the memory being faulty are slim, but not impossible, I suppose.
I've never used one of these upper RAM boards before. They are difficult to get in, and you have to make sure when you solder these sockets to a board.
Yeah, all good. That's good. When you solder the sockets to the board, that you get the sockets dead flat. They have to be exactly right. Everything in here is what's going to be in the final machine. I have a modern replacement
for this.
Devzine sent with this board.
This PCB in here, and I've got all the parts to make it.
But I'm running out of time. I've got a limited amount of time to get all of these machines done and fitted into the flight cases as well with the foam inserts. And if I get time, I'll do this and then add it to it. But I might not make a video of that. But this, as far as I'm concerned, is done. Apart from that sound issue, I will look into that and get it sorted, and then this will be going in
this lovely case. It's already got a board in it, but that's not going to stay in there. Yeah, that's going to look really nice.
I very much enjoyed building my first completely new ZX Spectrum 48K from all new parts. What's that? What about that one? Well, yes, the ZX8401 is actually 39 years old, which, if you ask me, is young. I was running around chasing balls around a tennis court in my prime at that age. Okay, this isn't a complete project until the ZX8401 is replaced with something new. But you won't see that in this video. There will be a dedicated video for that project coming very soon. This new Spectrum works exactly as you would expect a brand new ZX Spectrum to work. It loads games from tape and cartridge, looks and sounds and feels just like the real thing. Maybe even better if you ask me. I might be biased. Did I mention I built this myself? And in this plush flight case with the custom vinyl wraps courtesy of Mike DX, it's a cracking package. This and the other 4 machines will be going up for auction on eBay, finishing on the 16th of September. Keep an eye on the channel as there will be a slew of videos coming between now and then, updating on the other items, including this fetching one-of-a-kind mug. All of the money raised, less eBay fees, will be donated to the Befriending Scheme charity. I'm hoping to raise £4,000, and currently the total stands at £2,163, and to try and get us there I'll be streaming for 12 hours straight on my main channel on the 16th of September, along with all these lovely YouTubers who will be joining me for a chat and a giggle. The start time will be 11 AM British summer time, and to kick things off I'll be joined by the most Spectrum man I could find, Rose Tinted Spectrum. For details on the schedule of the other guests, head over to my website where I've put together a page that will tell you everything you need to know. If it doesn't tell you what you want to know, ask me and I'll put it on the page. The address is morefunmakingit.co.uk/charity 2023. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.